Good day, everyone. Let's continue with session 2. So, in today's session, we'll be going through the items that I will be touching based on is the first item, the power from electrical room, types of cabling that are needed, workstations and nodes, server, router, printer, landline, and switch. And the last part will be joining the workstation to a LAN. So in today's session, I will be covering those items, and I've prepared slides also for these items. So in the next video, I will share how defining IP addresses and assigning IP addresses to nodes, server, router, printer, and so forth, and your landline. So let's look into slide number 8, electrical room. So electrical room, so the methodology in terms of how I will just go about in terms of explaining from the PowerPoint slide, and also going back to the visual that on the first video we created an office building. So once I explain the item on the power slide, I will refer to the visual document that we've created. So let's look. There's one thing that we forgot to do, to include into our building. It's an electrical room. So in this instance, we'll have to build an electrical room. So I'll just briefly describe what is an electrical room. So an electrical room is a room or a space in a building dedicated to electrical equipment. So let's go back to our electrical room. So let's go to the technical support. Yes, and plan technical support calls technical project. Let's open our visual diagram. Perfect. Also, I would like us to just edit some few things on the visual diagram, but those should be okay. Perfect. So I want us to build okay. So this will be our electrical room. So we need a door for our electrical room. So inside the server room, we will name this, and this will be our electrical room. So this will be our electrical room. So let's go back to our slide. So please, guys, on your side, please also create this. This is important. This is very important. Also on your side, create this electrical room, and once you're done, please save the document. So let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation slide. Let's look into the equipment that are inside the electrical room. So we've got an electrical switchboard. So we'll just only have 3 components within our electrical room. So we'll have electrical switchboard. So let's look at the definition for electrical switchboard. So an electrical switchboard is a device that distributes electricity from one or more source of supply to several smaller load circuits. I will just repeat this again. Electrical switchboard is a device that distributes electricity from one or more sources of power of supply to several smaller load circuits. It is an assembly of one or more panels, each of which contains switching devices for the protection and the control circuits fed from the switchboard. So let's look at an electrical switchboard. I've managed to attach an electrical switchboard on one of the slides. So this is an electrical switchboard. So this will be inside this room. This room will be occupied by an electrical switchboard, which is this component. And remember, its main purpose is to distribute electricity from one or more source of supply to several smaller load circuits. Let me just underline this in red to highlight that this is very important. And also inside our electrical room, we'll have a distribution board, also known as a panel board, a DB board. So it's a component of an electrical supply system that divides an electrical power feed into subsidiary circuits while providing a protective fuse or circuit breaker for each circuit in a common enclosure. So these are one of, we just look into two of the most important. So this is more, this a DB, it's more of the main switch of inside the switchboard. So you find that the main switch of the whole building, if that main switch is down, the entire building doesn't have electricity. And lastly, we'll look into a circuit breaker. This is an electrical safety device designed to protect an electrical circuit from damage caused by an overcurrent or short circuit. We won't go into deep in terms of what these are. I mean, I just highlighted three important components, and we will look into these when we try to solve problems whenever we encounter a problem within the building, you know. So I just mentioned these three elements which are important. So remember, we've got an electrical switchboard, a DB, and also an electrical circuit. So these components will be inside this room, electrical room. So moving right along onto our slides, remember that we are trying to install a LAN. So now the second thing that is important, we need the types of cabling. So let me just define, let's look at the definitions of the network cables that I've provided on the slide. So the networking cables are networking hardware used to connect one network device to another network device. So different types of network cables such as coaxial cable, optical fiber cable, and twisted pair cables are used depending on the network's physical layer or topology. So the devices can be separated by a few meters, which is the Ethernet, or nearly unlimited distances. That's where we use the fiber optic cable. Ethernet is for few meters, like within a LAN building. There are three cables types commonly used for Ethernet cabling, which is coaxial, twisted pair, and fiber optic cable. So in this instance, since we are working within a LAN, we will closely be looking at the twisted pair cabling. So let's get into the twisted pair cabling. So a twisted pair cabling has four pairs of wires. These wires are twisted around each other to reduce crosstalk and outside interference. So these type of cabling is common in LANs. So also, twisted pair cabling can be used for telephone and networking cabling. It comes in two versions. We've got the UTP, which is the unshielded twisted pair, and the STP, which is the shielded twisted pair. So the difference between these two is that an STP cable has an additional layer of insulation that protects data from outside interference. So that's the difference between these two. So it's more of the better version of the other. So on slide 13, this is what a UTP looks like in an STP. So since now we have cables that will we have identified that will be used within our LAN, we now know what type of cable we'll be using. We'll be using a twisted pair cabling. So now that has been um, sorted in terms of identifying which type of cabling will be used. We'll be using a twisted pair cabling. So moving on to slide 14, let's look at the computer nodes, which in our session I refer them as as workstation. uh, Workstation, that there is a difference between a workstation and a computer node. A workstation, it's just a supercomputer that has a specific function, you know. So you may find in an environment, in an IT environment, there are certain workstations that are used to process database applications. It can be database applications, it can be other application that requires a supercomputer to authorize some set of configurations on that computer. So a normal computer cannot uh, be able to run those configuration or within that database or within that application that you'll be using. So there's two distinct naming or differences between a computer node and a workstation. So don't confuse the two. I just wanna elaborate on that just to know the difference between the two. So what you need to know is that in this instance we might have a workstation, maybe one workstation that is defined only to do certain applications within the database. So we'll just add that as we manage to set up our LAN. So let's look at the first item, the computer node. So I'll just define it and also add it on our video. So a computer node is a device within a network that is able to send, receive, or forward information. So let's add computer nodes on our visual. So we'll go back and go to more shapes. So since you guys if let's say for instance you would like to add more shapes into your visual diagram, you need to click onto more shapes, go to networking, click onto the items that you would need uh, to add. Normally I just add all of these items so that it's easier for me to computers, monitors, detailed. Yep, we managed to do that. So we added all the items, the more shapes within the panel, the features, the panel on your left hand side. So we said on our we need to add computer nodes. So let's add computer nodes. Let's check PC. So this is our first PC. Okay, this is our first PC. Our second PC. This will be our third PC. So there's quite a lot that we haven't covered in terms of the topology for the internet, for the Ethernet. So that will cover on a later stage. So for now, we're just covering the basics. So we're having like let's have it about okay. So we've got about 12 workstation within this office, and okay, perfect. So let's move on to our PowerPoint presentation. Let's check on to a network switch. So a network switch is a hardware device that filters and forwards network packets from one networking device, which is a switch, a router, computer, a server, to another. So switches allow you to send and receive information such as email, and access shared resources in a smooth, efficient, highly secure and transparent manner. So we know that a switch only allow you to send and receive information such as email within a LAN. So we will install a switch on our LAN. So let's go back to our video diagram and go to let's check. Do we have a switch into the servers? No, we don't have a network symbols in 3D. Do we have a switch? Let's try to check a switch. There is a switch that I've seen the other day. Let's check then. Okay, let's use this switch. So this is the switch that will connect these computer nodes. So within a LAN, let's say for instance we say this is computer 1 wants to share an email to computer 12. So they will communicate within a LAN using a switch will allow computer 1 to filter data and send it to computer 12, and that function also has an ability to other computer nodes not being able to access the data that computer 1 shares to 12. So other computer won't be able to receive the information that um, this computer node 1 managed to send data to computer node 12. So a switch has that ability also. So let's look into PowerPoint presentation. So a router is a switching device for networks which is able to route network packets based on their addresses to other network or devices. Also, routers guide and direct network data using packets that contain various kinds of data such as files, communication, and simple transmission like web interaction. So, for instance, since now we have a LAN in place, so we can only share information within this office using a switch. So now we want to install a router which will define this LAN. So within our LAN, we would like also to have a router. So we will so this will be our router. This is our switch, this is our router, and seems like our network, our LAN is complete, but let's further check on our slide. So routers guide and direct network data using packets. So let's say, for instance, you would like to install another LAN in here, and also you want these workers to communicate with these workers over LAN 2. So that's where router comes in place, where this network will name, maybe network 1 will communicate with network 2 to say, I would like to communicate with workstation number 27 on network 2. So that's where the router is in place. Let's take it like this. The router should be on top. Okay, the router should be on top. Then yep, perfect. So also I would like us to have a patch panel, a rack mounted equipment. Okay, this is a rack. So we have a rack in place. We have a rack in place, and inside the rack we've got a router, and also we've got a switch. So we'll take this, okay, let's have our router inside. So we have our rack. A rack is just a cabinet where we store our switches and routers within it, and servers in most cases. Okay, let's do this. Let's remove this, and let's have a cabinet. A cabinet. Perfect. Works better. So we have our router inside our cabinet, and we have our switch. Let's move the switch a bit up. Ha, perfect. So on our far corner we have a router in place. We have our cabinet where it stores our router and switch. We also have our nodes. Let's go back to our PowerPoint presentation. We have one, I think there's one missing, which is a server. Okay, let's move on to slide number 15. So a printer, network printer, serves multiple computers connected through a common network. This allows multiple computers to print to a single printer or for multiple printers to share the workload among several computers. So a printer can be connected to a network through a wired or wireless connection. So in this instance, we need a printer so that the employees of this company or this organization can be able to print within within their workstations or where their computer knows that they will be using. So let's go back to our visual and check to computer monitor. Is there anything or let's check a printer. Let's check. Okay, so we're having our printer here. Okay, so I believe that our LAN is complete. I think we have one last item, which is a server. Okay, a server is to provide users with set of services and access to resources on the network. These features include permissioned access and logs in for network users. For instance, let's say maybe there are certain logins or a certain file, an FTP file that stores crucial information for the organization. So it will require you special permission for you to access those kind of files. Gateway access to the internet for an organization. This is more of your proxies. This is more of your proxies where the proxies works on your behalf in order for you to access the internet. Centralized location for network resources. For instance, maybe we have a certain files that are within our network, our LAN, that stores uh, important information, like for instance your network resources like your AD, like the IT room needs to give permissions to certain users within the LAN. So we know that those kind of administrators are able to access that AD within our LAN. So that's more of a server. It provides users with set of services and access to resources on the network. So as we move along the unit standards, I will just go deeper in terms of your printers as server. So this is just a briefly description of these items, and let's go back to our visual and install a server. So we've got a server, and perfect, that's our server. So we've got our server, our printer, our router, switch, and workstations. Perfect. And we got our cables, which is your Ethernet cables, and we managed to set up a LAN. So the next phase will be assigning these into giving them names. Like for instance, as I've explained earlier in our session, that what we need to do is to uh, if you have a name, you also have to assign. It's easier for me to locate you when we have a name. Yeah, as I am Gabelo, when you address me, it's easier for you to call me by my name. So with these workstations, as you can see, we don't know which is the first computer, which is the first node and the last node. So if this computer would like to communicate with this on the switch, how would how would this computer know that this is computer 12? So we need to assign these node stations naming IP addresses. So on the next video, I'll just go in detail, because that session, it's quite long. So we'll get into that in the next video that I'll upload. So for now, let's look into the PowerPoint presentation. So I've managed to share an example of a switch. This is a switch. It depends on the ports that it has. So normally, if this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, this is about 16 port switch, where it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. So it's a 28 switch port, which allows about 28 computer nodes to be accessed within the switch. And also, we've got a router, similar in terms of the design like a switch, but you can differentiate a router. It's written a router within its description when you go and buy it. So this is a router, as you can see, with these aerials, if I may put it in that way. And also, lastly, in the last slide, I've got a printer. So we will assume that we have installed these in our LAN. So this is a printer. So this printer is in our office. So let's quickly verify that everything is in. So we've got a server, a printer, we've got a cabinet which consists of a switch and a router, and also we've got about 12 computer nodes. So what we need to do, and also the cabling has been done. The electrical room, we've got a 3 components which are installed within the computer room. So let's go back. We've got an electrical switchboard, a DB, and also a circuits that are within the electrical switchboard. So now we're good to go. We have our LAN installed within room 1. So in the next slide, in the next video, I will focus mainly on defining the IP addresses and assigning IP addresses to your nodes, your servers, your router, printer, and so forth. Oh, there's one thing that I forgot, which is a telephone line, a landline. So this has been completed. We managed to complete that. Also, that is completed. So I wouldn't say we've joined the workstations, we've joined the nodes. Let's refer everything as nodes. Networking, we haven't joined, but we did since we. So the only thing that we need to do, I need to define the IP address and also assign these computer nodes servers IP addresses. So we need to install a landline. So let's go back to our video and check on. Yeah, perfect. So we have our landline within our office. So now we good to go. So now everything has been set up. So we need to assign these IP addresses and our LAN will be complete. So please, guys, on yourself, please also do as I did in terms of joining the network, going through the updated power presentation slide. So you will receive the presentation slide together with the video on the portal. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.